There are a lot of tips as to how to find a good, authentic restaurant in Italy. However, avoiding restaurants that have an English menu is not one of them. Maybe it used to be back in the day, but now this is definitely a myth. The majority of restaurants in city centers will either have English written on the menu or they will have a completely separate English menu. It is not a bad thing. It is not an indication if a restaurant is good or not. So, how do you find a good, authentic restaurant in Italy? First, get out of any piazzas or main squares in the city. Restaurants in main piazzas and squares are typically meant for tourists. They're typically more expensive and they're not as good quality of food. The exception to this though is if it's a fine dining restaurant that has like a Michelin star or is just in that upscale category. Go wander down some side streets and find the little hole in the wall restaurants there. Second, avoid restaurants that have a waiter outside asking you to come in. Really good, authentic restaurants that locals are going to know that they have good food, and that's what's gonna get people inside by word of mouth, not the waiters outside telling people to come in. 3, avoid restaurants that have pictures of the dishes on the menu. Also, any restaurants that have menu turistico or tourist menu advertised on the outside. And last, food and typical dishes vary so much throughout Italy. Every single region in Italy, even sometimes cities, have their own typical food and typical specialties that they are known for and that they do best. For example, in Florence, things like the Florentine steak, wild boar, ribollita, piposo, these dishes are typical dishes from Florence, whereas typical dishes from Rome, for example, are cacio e pepe, carbonara, artichokes. And even though Florence is only an hour and a half by train from Rome, you won't typically see carbonara, which is a Roman dish, on a menu in Florence. So do your research on the typical foods from the region that you are in, and then go to restaurants that have those dishes on the menu. Again, at the end of the day, eat wherever you want. But why spend your money at an inauthentic restaurant when you could easily eat at an authentic one?